Welcome. Once again, we've just come back from this year's Collaborate for OAUG and Quest.
Woohoo!
And once again, we would like to share with you some of the topics that we saw going on around the show. And I have to tell you, one of the hottest topics going was to stack or not to stack. In other words, how do I get my business answers out of my ERP, and what is the best solution overall from both a technical perspective, but also, and very importantly, from the perspective of what is best for your business users. My name's Glenn Wyrick. I'm the head of our product management team here at insightsoftware.com, and we'll be talking about what we think are some of your viable options for solving this issue. So let's further define what we mean by this issue. CFO.com says there's a lot of pressure on organizations to take in raw data and turn it into useful information in a time frame that suits the business. Interestingly, we've been talking about solving this challenge for 2 decades now. Why is that? I'd like you to consider, are your business users sitting in their cubes and at their desks and in their offices saying, I wish I had to run one more report, please build me another one? Or are they really looking for business answers to do their jobs quickly and effectively? What I would suggest to you is that if the focus is on enabling the business user instead of report building, you're likely to get a more positive outcome. What we would say is necessary is something that is pre-built so the information is at the fingertips of the end user, fully complete and flexible. So whether a finance user, an inventory user, a job cost user, all the answers can be easily ascertained and therefore comprehensive so that it can be used by the whole organization. Now here's the real key. Something that for a business user with little or no training whatsoever can create views of information in minutes and not days. So what does this thing we call more answers look like? Well, it starts with a go-live event that literally takes an hour, delivering business visibility dramatically improve very often within the first day. What kind of visibility might I obtain? First of all, real-time financial consolidations. The kinds of consolidations that someone might invest many months and many dollars into something like a Hyperion solution. Integrated budgeting and forecasting that works live with your real-time JD Edwards information and is fully built into this product, which goes live in less than a day. Next, real-time analytics. Not just analytics with the power of traditional business intelligence, but analytics that work over your real-time data to answer meaningful questions of the moment, not having to rely on staged data in a data warehouse. And what's very key to all of this is that your business users have a very easy interface where they can do ad hoc data investigation and get the answers in a self-service way. So let's look at what this all means. First of all, let's talk about the live in 1 hour business visibility in a day. Now, I could open some software and show you what we really mean by that. However, what we're really talking about is instant gratification. So what's the best way that I can prove to you that this is actually possible? We encourage our prospects to load our software free of charge in that 1 hour, run it over your business data, let our consultants support you at no charge so that you can actually verify whether all the things I'm showing you today are indeed possible. And what this means for you is saving time and increasing knowledge and being able to verify that you're meeting your business user needs before you've actually invested in the solution. Next, I'd like to talk about real-time financial consolidations. And as we look at software here, I want you to keep in mind this isn't just financial consolidations for the purposes of finance, but also for the purpose of totally enabling your stakeholders to run the business, seeing financial answers in a way that makes sense for them, even though they don't live in the finance group. In this first example, we're jumping into Insight Software now. This is live software working over a live ERP environment. It happens to be JD Edwards in this case. And we're looking at a consolidated executive income statement. And in this case, we're viewing it through the casual business user interface, which we call the console. From the console, a business user with no training can actually use what would traditionally be a report as live interactive self-service information. For example, the way this was published to me, I have 4 different companies in my view. But for my job, I only care about company 3. So I'm able to edit the companies, and now my consolidation reduces. But different than a consolidation tool like Hyperion, this consolidation is over live data. What benefit does that mean for me? It means I, for example, can begin to interrogate my information. So for example, I've opened up a more detailed view of my revenues in my Denver branch, and I can see that I actually have a negative variance highlighted in red. Now I want to show you some extra power that is only capable when you are looking at live data on your ERP. It is my ability to drill in real time to the lowest level of detail, where here I now see the exact GL transactions that total into the balance we were just looking at. I can toggle between the two. I can send my information, for example, off to Excel. So we'll notice quickly this just popped into Excel, where I can work with it further. You'll notice that the subtotaling and all the formatting showed up in Excel directly from the product. So this is what we mean by end users having the flexibility to really work with the information in a real-time way. Let's look at another example. Here we're still looking at financial information, but bear in mind that this is information delivered in a way that business users outside of finance can manage their operation. So for example, I have access to the profitability by industry for the products in my business division. And here I can see revenue, cost, etc. Now, if I wanted to, I could drill, for example, to see which customers are contributing to this revenue. But in the interest of time, I think I'll look at a different example. Here I see my top 10 customers grossing the revenue into the numbers we've been looking at. And from here I will take a view of finding out what is my customer activity. Now for those of you that get this granular in your accounts receivable data, I'll highlight something that's a very challenging answer to get in JD Edwards. Here I have the gross amount for the accounts receivable for this customer and the cash receipt that they've paid us, therefore the open amount, as well as discounts, unapplied cash, chargebacks, and write-off. This would not be possible in a typical BI implementation because the level of detail is too low. This is not possible in JD Edwards because JD Edwards doesn't combine data in this type of a view. So hopefully this first example has really highlighted for you a quick, easy way for business users to understand what's going on in their operation from a standpoint of finance. The key benefit of this approach is an immediate enterprise-wide financial understanding. Many of our clients have told us that this capability and this level of visibility has driven meaningful improvements to their bottom line. Next, let's talk about integrated budgeting and forecasting. Again, I'm jumping into my Insight software application. I am still in that console casual business user's view, but what I'm looking at here, you can see, is a budget input form. I'll highlight just a couple things to you. First of all, these actual amounts are coming live from JD Edwards right now in this moment. The budget numbers have been entered by a business contributor. To do so, the business contributor would click Enter Budget. Now you can see that these cells have come active. And not only am I as a budget contributor able to begin entering numbers, but this variance column is live and dynamic, so that as I enter my budget numbers, I can immediately see the impact on any variance from my live JD Edwards actuals from last year relative to the budget I'm entering this year. Another key thing here is that we have full commenting. So as the business contributor, I can add comments in real time. Let's just do that, so that I can make sense of the entries that I'm making. The final point is we have full modeling capability. So if, for example, the owner of this budget wanted to set up a model that automatically spread the amounts across my seasonality for the year, that is fully possible. Again, the benefit of this type of an approach is that you're enabling a more agile enterprise as you're able to do budgeting typically on a monthly basis because the setup and management of budgeting becomes so much more easy, while the visibility to the numbers and the understanding of the impact of your budgets and forecast is much more readily understood. Next, let's talk about real-time analytics. Now, analytics are often associated with traditional business intelligence solutions, and they do bring some good value. But a challenge you typically have with that type of a solution is, first of all, can the business user really generate the answer they need right now, or must they go to IT because it's too complicated to actually use the tool set? And can you apply those analytics to real-time information in the moment from the highest level of consolidation down to the lowest level of detail? And typically, because of the nature of data warehouses and cubes, the answer to that second question is no. Let's look at how we can enable all those things. In our first example, we've taken standard purchase order information from the ERP and we've kind of bent it around to turn it into something much more meaningful for the business user. Now, by the way, it would take on average about 30 minutes for a power user, a business professional, to create the view that we're looking at and then with the click of one button publish it out to the typical casual business user as I am at this moment. Now what this enables me to do is to pick anything off of my item master and look at the average price that I'm paying for that item across all of the vendors that supply it to me. Then using some nice analytical work and employing powerful analytics in a very simple way, we've determined what the average price is that we pay for this particular item, my network tracker, and who and to which suppliers am I paying more than the average or less. What I can see here very quickly and easily is that we pay CenturyBit more money and give them more orders than any other vendor, yet they cost 110% more than the average for this part. So let's begin to do what the business user So let's see the power of real-time analytics in motion. First of all, if I'm paying them a premium, I would certainly hope that this supplier is reliable. So let's ask the question, how reliable is this particular supplier? I am now moving live through my ERP data to determine that CenturyBit actually has delivered 100% of its deliveries late. So I think I'd like to understand more about just how late those were. And again, using the flexibility of our tool to combine different tables together, we've actually combined the receipts information with the purchase order information. Another challenging answer to sometimes get out of the native ERP screens. And we've done a simple analytical calculation of the days late. And what I can see that some of my orders have been 15 days late and some have been 23 days late. Again, very rapidly, I've answered the entire question from a quick, simple view over my real-time data.